I forgot my keys. Do you know where...
Cancer.
Oh my God.
You are a Cancer, right? You were born in July?
Joe, how can I put this delicately? He used his stinky French wiener to defile her.
Wow, that's real hit above the belt.
Joe Swanson, the unexpected heart of the gang. It's hard to imagine someone keeping their dignity in a town like Quahog, especially when your best friends are Peter Griffin and Glenn Quagmire. But somehow, Joe Swanson pulls it off. For a show as chaotic as Family Guy, Joe is a surprising anchor. A disabled cop with more grit than the entire precinct combined, Joe doesn't let his wheelchair define him. In fact, it's often the source of some of the show's best-running gags. What makes Joe stand out isn't just the physical strength or the moments where he shows off how capable he is, it's the fact that underneath the badge and bravado, he's genuinely kind. There's a quiet honor to Joe that most of the other characters completely lack. Sure, he's had his missteps. Who hasn't in this universe? There was that phase where he got new legs and suddenly turned into a full-blown jerk with a god complex. But even that storyline had a purpose, to show just how much better Joe is when he's grounded, both literally and emotionally. From rescuing friends near death to gently letting down Meg when she developed a misguided crush on him, Joe proves time and time again that even in a world full of cartoon lunacy, a good guy can still stand out. Quite literally, even if it's only briefly.
What the hell you doing here, pansy?
We're gonna break your legs, Joe.
It's for your own good.
Come on, guys, get him! Buddy, what the hell? Put my gun down.
Not until I have my husband back!
I'm perfect!
Chris Griffin, wasted potential, creepy punchline. Once upon a time, Chris Griffin was an awkward teen who seemed to be on track to be something more. He had layers. Weird layers, sure, but there was depth. Remember when he showed talent as an artist? That could have gone somewhere. Instead, the writers turned him into a walking joke that rarely lands. He's somehow dumber than Peter, but without the charm. Instead of being endearingly clueless, Chris feels like a cautionary tale of what happens when a character gets stuck in a creative loop. He leans way too hard into pervy territory, which ends up being less funny and more unsettling, like when he sent nudes of his own mother to his classmates. What even is that? And it doesn't help that when given even a shred of power or popularity, Chris turns into an arrogant jerk. He mistreats Meg, cheats on girls who like him, and generally acts like a brat. Whatever quirky spark he had early on is completely buried under layers of awkward, gross, and borderline sociopathic behavior. If Chris disappeared tomorrow, it's hard to believe the show would even notice. Mayor Adam West, the Chaos King. If Joe is the moral compass of Quahog, then Adam West is the compass that's spinning wildly, pointing nowhere and somehow causing a citywide blackout. And it's glorious. There's no logic to Mayor West, and that's the point. He's the embodiment of post-revival Family Guy humor, completely unhinged, nonsensical, and yet impossible to ignore. He makes no sense, doesn't even try to, and somehow manages to be one of the most beloved characters on the show. Every line feels like it was pulled from an entirely different universe and dropped right into Quahog. And yet it works. Whether he's trying to gain superpowers from nuclear waste or misunderstanding the basic function of a doorbell, Adam West delivers one laugh after another just by existing. He's incompetent, possibly dangerous, but never malicious. That makes all the difference. Unlike other politicians in the Family Guy universe, he's not scheming. He's just nuts. And that's why fans couldn't get enough of him.
Nuclear refuse gave them superpowers. It could do the same for me. Citizens, I'm off to the toxic waste dump.
Bonnie Swanson, always miserable, never accountable. Bonnie is one of those characters who somehow manages to feel both ever-present and completely forgettable, until she does something to remind everyone why she's so frustrating. Her main personality trait seems to be misery. She constantly complains about her life, her husband, her choices, but does absolutely nothing to change any of it. She acts like being married to Joe is some kind of punishment, despite the fact that he's easily one of the most dependable and selfless characters on the show. The worst part? She leans into the victimhood while being entirely complicit in the toxicity. She had an affair with Brian, Yu, shows barely any interest in raising her daughter, and treats Joe like he's dragging her down, when really it's the other way around. Bonnie doesn't evolve, doesn't grow, and seems to exist solely to reinforce just how exhausting it is to watch someone whine about a problem they refuse to fix.
Perform purification rituals on my body after we have sex. I find it cleanses the immeasurable sadness of having lain with a wretch.
I want a divorce!
You!
Meg Griffin, the punching bag that fights back. Meg Griffin has suffered more than any character should, cartoon or not. In a world where everyone gets away with terrible behavior, Meg gets punished just for existing. She's mocked by her family, ignored by classmates, and treated like the town's resident cautionary tale. But here's the twist. It works. Somehow, Meg's misery becomes her superpower. The more she suffers, the funnier her character becomes. And every now and then, when she finally snaps or has a moment of triumph, it's deeply satisfying. Like the time she returned from prison and completely wrecked Peter. That was a moment fans had been waiting for. Meg also has depth. She's talented, has hidden layers of strength, and has shown real emotional maturity in the rare moments the show lets her breathe. Despite being the butt of every joke, Meg has quietly become one of the most relatable and oddly lovable characters in Family Guy. Doug, the rival nobody wanted. Doug was supposed to be Stewie's rival. What fans got instead was a smug, boring kid who somehow kept getting screen time with no real purpose. Early Family Guy Stewie would have blasted this kid into another dimension. Instead, Doug constantly upstages him, which doesn't even feel remotely believable based on everything we know about Stewie's intelligence. Doug wasn't funny, he wasn't threatening, and he definitely wasn't compelling. Worst of all, he kept popping up in episode after episode without bringing anything new to the table. The rivalry was flat. It lacked stakes. It felt forced. And then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he was gone. No grand send-off. Just a plane crash. Doug went out like Poochie from The Simpsons. Except no one cared. Carter Pewterschmidt, the rich jerk you can't help but enjoy. Carter Pewterschmidt is Family Guy's satire of everything wrong with the ultra-wealthy, and he owns it. He's rude, selfish, and wildly out of touch. But unlike some characters on the show, he never pretends to be anything else. His dynamic with Peter is one of the best recurring bits in the series. The disdain is so strong, so hilarious, and completely justified. Carter doesn't see Peter as a threat or even a person, just an inconvenient fungus on the bottom of his daughter's marriage. But what makes Carter entertaining is that his cruelty is often paired with deadpan humor and ridiculous scenarios. Whether he's asking where the nets are to keep men's balls out of the water or casually mistaking his former gardener for a stranger, Carter is always good for a laugh. His reality is so absurd, it bends the logic of the show around him. Herbert, the joke that overstayed its welcome. Herbert was never supposed to be a multi-season staple. His entire character is based on one disturbing joke that stopped being funny a long time ago. Unlike Quagmire, who at least brings energy, absurdity, and variety, Herbert is just uncomfortable. His scenes are creepy, his voice is grating, and the punchline is always the same. It's not edgy, it's just exhausting. And it's not like he ever developed into anything more. There's no depth, no twist, no evolution, just the same tired gag over and over again. The show could have retired him seasons ago and no one would have missed a thing.
40 faster!
Where you going, kids? Hey, I just want to talk to you. Why don't you come over to my place for a glass of...
Quagmire, the pervert with a personality. Quagmire is a walking HR violation, but he's also one of the most consistently hilarious characters in Family Guy. There's no denying that he crosses lines, pushes boundaries, and lives in a state of permanent horniness. But somehow, the writers managed to give him more depth than most of the Griffin family. He's a parody, yes, but also a well-crafted one. His one-liners, his rivalry with Brian, and his occasional moments of genuine decency create a surprising balance, like when he stood up for his sister Brenda against her abusive boyfriend. That wasn't a punchline, that was a rare flash of humanity. And every time he rips into Brian, it's like therapy for the audience, because as unhinged as Quagmire is, he's not a hypocrite. He owns his flaws. That honesty, paired with absurd comedy, keeps him from becoming a total write-off. Brian Griffin, the fall of a fan favorite. There was a time when Brian Griffin was considered the voice of reason in the Griffin household. Those days are long gone. Modern Brian is arrogant, judgmental, and completely lacking in self-awareness. He constantly acts like he's above everyone else. Smarter, classier, more enlightened, but his actions always prove the opposite. Whether it's dating women way out of his league and then sabotaging the relationship, or abandoning his son unless it's convenient, Brian has become the embodiment of smug hypocrisy. He talks big about morals, but lies, manipulates, and cheats with zero remorse. And when fans thought the show had finally written him off only to bring him back immediately, it felt like a betrayal. Brian doesn't even work as comic relief anymore. He's just an annoying presence that drags down the scenes he's in. Stewie Griffin, the show's secret weapon. Stewie Griffin is what keeps Family Guy alive. Simple as that. He's evolved more than any other character on the show. What started as a diabolical baby obsessed with killing his mom has become a complex, emotional, and endlessly entertaining personality. Stewie's intelligence, sarcasm, and emotional depth make him fascinating to watch. His inventions are wild, his schemes are brilliant, and his dynamic with Rupert, iconic. Add in his complicated friendship with Brian, which still delivers some of the best moments in the series. And it's clear why fans hold him in such high regard. He's unpredictable, sharp-witted, and oddly sincere when it counts. In a show full of horrible people, Stewie somehow became the most emotionally well-rounded.
No, we don't switch.
Because when we booked, they didn't have 3 together.
Ma'am, your poor planning does not constitute an emergency for me. You'll see him in Paris.
Lois Griffin, the hypocrite behind the housewife's smile. Lois plays the role of responsible mother and wife, but scratch the surface and she's just as messed up as everyone else. Maybe even worse. The hypocrisy is off the charts. She lectures Peter constantly, but cheats just as often. She bullies Meg, barely parents Stewie, and has thrown herself at her daughter's boyfriends more than once. Her aggression is played for laughs, but it's often unsettling. Kidnapping, assault, gaslighting. Lois does it all. She hides behind a mask of morality, but her behavior speaks volumes. And that's what fans can't stand. At least Peter owns his awfulness. Lois pretends to be better, and that's way more irritating.
Mom, I forgot my keys. Do you know where?
Dr. Hartman. Medical malpractice, meet comedy. Dr. Hartman is the kind of doctor who should have lost his license 17 seasons ago, and yet he's one of the funniest side characters in the entire series. Every visit to his office is a total gamble. He either says something wildly inappropriate, misreads charts, or confuses birthdays with diagnoses. And that's the charm. He's not trying to be funny. He's just so unbelievably bad at his job that it circles back to being hilarious. The man probably doesn't know what a pancreas is, but he's somehow always there with a scalpel and a smile, a complete disaster of a physician, and fans love every second of it.
Cancer.
Oh my god.
You are a Cancer, right? You were born in July? Now on to these test results. My, they're much worse than I thought. My son got a D- on his history test.
Peter Griffin, the king of chaos and hate. Peter Griffin is Family Guy's central character, but that doesn't mean he's well-liked. In fact, he might be the most hated of them all, and it's not hard to see why. He's abusive, reckless, and consistently makes life worse for everyone around him. He's a terrible father, a horrible friend, and an even worse husband. From setting up fake car accidents to physically abusing his own kids, Peter's list of sins is long and disturbing. And the worst part? He never learns. Ever. Every time there's a chance for growth, he doubles down on stupidity. It's become his trademark. And while that's made for some wild storylines, it's also made him incredibly hard to root for.
Joe, how can I put this delicately? He used his stinky French wiener to defile her.
Wow, that's a real hit above the belt.
Family Guy is a show built on chaos, contradictions, and cartoon absurdity. And that's exactly what keeps fans coming back. But not all characters are created equal. Some earn their spot through unexpected depth and loyalty, like Joe or Meg. Others survive purely on chaotic energy, like Adam West or Stewie. And then there are the ones that push too far, lose their edge, or just don't evolve, like Chris, Bonnie, or Herbert. The balance of love and hate is what makes Family Guy such a wild ride. Loved the breakdown? Smash that like button, drop your ranking in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the craziest characters in TV history.